Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to the RevRag AI podcast. Today with us we have Manoj Kulkarni, a seasoned business and technology leader. And Manoj has worked across different companies in different scale and different driving a lot of innovation overall, right? And building high performance teams. Throughout his career, Manoj has worked at an intersection of technology, strategy, and business transformation, right? Helping organization navigate while changing sustained growth. So, in conversation, we'll also deep dive into his professional career, how he has shaped overall, right? What does he think about AI and emerging technologies that we have today, and how we can apply AI in BFSI because he's coming from a very big bank, right? And so, Manoj, would love to know a quick bite from you so that we all are able to understand how you've been. What has been your journey overall, and then we'll deep dive into some of the questions that
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for really having me here. Right. Let's go with a story. Okay. Let's imagine there's a fraudster who is really trying to steal your money. Okay,
right,
at one end, and there are banks, financial institutions who are trying to safeguard this money in milliseconds. He's working in seconds, and we have to work on milliseconds. So that's where exactly my statement of work really defines how we can protect not only the money which is hard earned but also the trust in the financial system what we bring in. Right. So again, for the corporate comms, whatever I express here, it's going to be solely my sort of a research and my opinion. Nothing really brings in from the org what I really work on. Right.
right,
So I am Manoj Kulkarni. I bring in close to 2 decades of work ex mainly on investment banking, capital markets, credit risk management, and off late into financial crime and fraud management side of it. I have been holding product owner strategic positions in a lot of projects what I have been handling, and also a couple of organizations what I would like to name. One is the Credit Suisse, where mainly I was working on product development right on the lending platforms, which really manipulates the current sort of credit risk with the collaterals which we generally obtain, and also go in for the credit risk calculations. And before that, I was with Capco Morgan Stanley, where I was working on the trade confirmations. This was mainly to do with how trades really get confirmed on the market wire platform instead of the paper confirms. That was probably a shift what I could encourage as bringing agile into the shift. Before that, it was all on the waterfall side of it. And before that, again, couple of product based companies where I was holding these products, but mainly as a business analyst. There was no much product owner position way back then. It was not product focused, rather, product thinking was not really existing. It was main to do with driving these requirements as such. And that will leave me with one last experience called as Wipro, where my immediate client was Citigroup, where I was handling core fixed income settlements. It was mainly on the reconciliation side of it, mainly to understand how trade settle in the real world and how we can reconcile. And recently, I had an opportunity to represent one of the white paper what I've submitted, and I had got an opportunity to participate in FinTech 3.0 event, where I did express how we are progressing technology versus trust, and that's a major battle which we are trying to solve upon. So yes, that's a quick on the professional run front. On personal side, yes, I am an avid reader and a passionate biker, and the recent one, probably I can say Ladakh was one of the recent
whoa, very
trip
nice.
what I have done. And yeah, initially I thought it's gonna be a merry-go-round, but yes, it gave me a lot of lessons on how adventure really unfolds. That's pretty much from my
Awesome,
end.
awesome, awesome. No, no, this is great. I think travel is always end up giving you a lot of lessons, right? Wherever you go. So I think that's for sure. So Manoj, as you know, like customer interaction in BFSI are becoming increasingly digital, right? There were used to be a lot of branches
Mm.
pre-COVID era, right? But now post-COVID era and today where we are sitting with AI and all, right? Almost 90-95% of the interactions are actually happening with your digital, your phone, your laptops, your other communication means, right? So what role do you see conversational AI playing in improving customers engagement, service delivery, and even fraud detection from your angle?
Right, Ashutosh, pretty well detailed. Because if I had to date back, we generally used to call this as a traditional finance or a trade fee is what we used to call them. So yes, we used to have those customer touch points, and where you have another human to really interact with in terms of any issues, or it might be as simple as you're facing in terms of how your banking generally operates, right? But now, in order to bring in efficiency and also time to market is the key, because even when we are trying to implement certain set of products, we have to know where our regulators are really running upon, and also what customers are expecting from us. So these are the two major pillars on which AI has really evolved. And I'm not saying it has become a challenge, because uh, I see a lot of these traditional conversations are more structured now. It's not like you have to, let's say, you explain whole of your scenario to a one particular representative, and that particular resolution is not found out or not solved within that particular time, and when that call gets routed to another representative, you have to really give a quick debrief on what's really happening, right? And that that's where a customer really gets agitated, and I have to really repeat all by myself, and that creates a pretty bad experience. But now AI bringing in, as soon as a rep, probably he or she not able to answer that question, when it gets routed to another one, there is a AI summary which will be given to you at the helm of it, telling you what exactly was the issue, what we are trying to solve, and where exactly is our customer really standing upon. So that actually enhances the experience. So somewhere I was reading in one of the article from Ministry of Finance India. They were trying to tell us that probably AI should not be a major concern where it's going to replace all the humans. Rather, it just gives us a superpower in order to summarize things, in order to be more personal to whom you are really interacting. So coming back to the question, yes, so AI has been an instrumental for us to take quicker decisions and also improve the customer experience, what we generally bring in.
From the lens of
Mm.
fraud detection, right? Because
Yeah.
as you said, it everybody like the fraudster is doing things in seconds. So I
Yeah.
or you have to be
Mm.
in milliseconds, right? So traditionally there was AI, right? There was traditional AI that was being used for fraud detection. What changed with the new post chat GPT, right? What is that that you are today excited about, and what is something that you think or are implementing in the fraud category? How are you detecting fraud? What has changed? How it is improving your overall scheme of things?
Right. So let's take one of the any payment transaction monitoring system. Okay. What does a payment transaction monitoring system really does? Whatever you authorize from your end, it gets hit to that particular payment system, and from there, it gets routed to various other beneficiaries. Okay. Now let's try to differentiate. Let's try to understand how a traditional thing was really based upon in any of the banking institutions on a generic note. There used to be rules. Okay, let's say a customer who has got less than 800 CIBIL score. Probably that customer is a bit risky for the bank, and if he's asking for any credit line extension, we will
Right.
input certain set of rules saying, if a customer has less than say 500 CIBIL score, if he's going for a transaction, let's say more than 1 million within certain set of days, let's say 2 days, then probably put this payment on hold. Because why I'm saying this on hold, there is pretty unlikely that a customer who has got a pretty bad credit rating might not go in for this high level transaction. So that might be one of the case where it might be fraudulent in nature, or that customer might not be genuine, and he might misuse the funds what's been given on to him. It might be coming in from the various sources, or it might be from his end as well, if there are any sanctions or uh, or probably illegal set of activities which generally carries out, and for that bank has to be responsible for it, right? So what happens in this particular thing, we have set a rule. It's a rule based system. If it falls in that particular rule, your system will alert you. Will, as a particular operations guy, you will get to know, okay, there is an alert, I need to work on it, and that's about it. You will stop the payment. That's one scenario. Now let's take another scenario. If a customer or a fraudster, you never know who is he, if he's trying to make a payment in sections, let's say instead of 1 million he does 500,000, 500,000. At that point in time, your rule will not catch this, because for a rule to catch you have to be at 1 million. If any number lesser than 1 million, it will think this as a pretty legitimate transaction, and that's how mule accounts get created, and from there is a whole set of network where the money gets routed, and you never know from where this money was extracted or what was the source, and from where it's been routed to various other illegal set of activities. So that's where AI has really come in. So what we do now, we do something called as a model based approach, okay, where we have our models which will continuously keep monitoring what sort of a transaction are being done. Let's say another example, it's between me and you, we are transacting. I've got around 5 million in my account, you have got 5 million in your account, and I need to extend my credit line, okay. So probably I go and approach my bank and I say, as of now, I see you have given me probably 3 million credit line. I want to extend it to another 7 million. But considering 5 million, it's pretty unlikely we are going to get this credit line extension. So what we are going to do, I will transact that amount to you, 5 million transfer to you. You will transact that amount to me. So we are going to say, let's say we'll have this kind of a 10 transactions being done. Okay. So when I say a working or probably a working capital or probably your working turnover, it is almost 50 million. Even though we just have 5 million, we have transacted it 10 times. So
Yeah,
probably our overall view will say that it is a 50 million worth, is that worth of business we are trying to do. So that will give a bank on a traditional front indication that this is good enough. I guess he's doing great business, the amount is pretty high, we can certainly extend the credit line. If it was a traditional side of it, they would have extended it. But now we are having this AI graphs in picture where they will try to locate these transactions as suspicious. Because why you're gonna transact between the same party with the same amount multiple number of times? Ultimately, it's just the 5 million. You're not, only your turnover is increased to 50 million, but actually it's not. It's just the 5 million. So these are the suspicious transactions which rules will not try to take over or probably given, but rather model approach will do. And these models are AI trained, so they will give a sort of a graphical approach saying this is the transactions which have happened, this looks suspicious, probably this is where you have to stop the transaction being cropping in. So um, this is how we are going to catch these fraudsters when they try to manipulate or fiddle with the system what we have in hand.
makes sense. Makes sense. So I've never actually, luckily, I've never been a part of a fraud of sort, right? But if a person actually get, like, he has not done the fraud, but let's say his transaction is stuck because of some nuanced or anomaly that was detected, but it was not a nuanced anomaly of sort, then what can he do? Because the user is
Mm.
suffering, right? He
Yeah,
never
yeah,
did that,
yeah.
and there can be false positives, right? So what do you suggest, like, what an end user can do?
Right. So typically, to answer this question, let's try to bring some background. Let's go back to our UPI story. Okay, what
Right.
really happened in India? It's one of the most successful story what we have built in. It's generally said that technology scales up pretty on a higher note rather than trust. Okay, so when it comes to trust, it's a big question which needs to be answered now. If you remember these apps, what we have, right? Phone Pay, Google Pay. um, when we started this app, it was just the payment platform where you are supposed to pay a simple things and then go ahead with it. But over a period of time, there is a amount or a layer called as embedded finance, or AMFIs, what we call, where these applications are also responsible for selling out a lot of other products as well. It might be your payments, you can do your insurance with it, uh, and also you pay your basic bills, even groceries, anything for that you can use it. So now what has happened, due to this fintech really coming in, there are three parties involved. One is the retailer like me and you, then you
Mhm.
have a fintech platform. It might
Right.
be your phone pay, Google Pay, or it might be any other app which really gives us this power. And finally, you have the banking institutions with which they are really tied up. Let's say if I get into an issue, you're trying to buy an insurance policy from your application. Even though you have made the payment, you still the insurance really didn't reach up to you, right? At this point in time, you try to raise a request within your app. From app, it gets routed to your bank, and from bank, it will again get routed to the final platform on which you're trying to buy this particular product. So this happens to be a complicated pattern which a customer or client really have to go through. So on this side, what generally happens is the trust is lost. Let's say if I have to buy something from this particular application, I'm really not sure if it really works because there are a lot of issues which really coming in. So I have my reservation on that. So the trust is one of the factor which happens to be a bigger problem. And now going back to your question, how a particular customer has to raise his concern, right? So that's where probably all thanks to our central bank, that is RBI, and also followed by a non-profit organization called as NPCI, which they are owning it, and now close to 65 banks really own it. Initially, it was a public sector bank, and now on private we have our HDFC and Axis. So there are clear set of responsibilities in terms of any sort of an issue which really gets routed through. It might be on a product or it might be on a fraudulent side of it as well. Let's take an example. One is what, again, based on the numbers, what I would like to say, again coming in from the Ministry of Finance and Indian Bankers Association, more than 50% of fraud are unreported in India. Especially one is the digital arrest scam. You might have read about it, lot of
Right.
juncture, right, where they will take a role of a custom officer or a police officer or any legal authority, and then they will try to contain it contain you in a particular scenario where you have to get your amount transferred, or probably you have got some a suspicious parcel being shipped into India which is under your name, and they exactly have the details. Let it be your Aadhaar number uh, followed by your mobile number. They exactly have those details as well. On one end, we have our DigiLocker, which is pretty available for everyone. If you and by mistake, if those details are getting shared, probably I'm sorry to say this, in India we just give out our Aadhaar numbers, our PAN numbers, just like this, as if you are handing over any of your pamphlets to anyone, right? We do not take the responsibility that I am sharing something which is not supposed to be shareable, or we do not even mask our Aadhaar numbers. Only the last few digital numbers are to be kept when you're gonna share it with other. It might be as simple as even if you want to go in for a sim, if you want to buy a new
Absolutely.
sim as well, right? So and that's where our responsibility really comes in. Okay. Okay, now shifting back to the point. So when they get into this fraudulent activity, they never report it because the kind of legal system what we have here, I have seen it personally, where one of my cousin really got into this particular scam, and when I went in with him to a police station, instead of he was already in a great tyranny because he had a multiple transaction with a QR code scan which he has done it, and in that time frame or in that pressure he couldn't understand, he transferred a lot of money to a particular bank account which was a post office bank savings bank account. and that particular fraudster was based out of some probably a northern part of India. We do not know where exactly these numbers really came in. And when we go ahead and lodge these complaints, right, they do not encourage it. As in, they try to understand how could you even do this? How stupid this can be, right? And it's a sort of a it's a sort of an embarrassment, Ashutosh. Let me be very honest, because people find it. How did I end up making fool of myself, and I cannot even tell this to anyone. So that's where the problem is, where they do not even report. They don't want to report. It's okay, aa gaya jane de. It's probably, this was not really my money,
Hmm.
right? And that's the problem. Again, going by the stats, even though technologically we are 50% much faster, but on frauds fraud trends, we are hitting almost 80%. So there is a gap of 30% which we are supposed to fill in. Even though now we have got our cyber crime cell numbers, we have to report it within the 8 hours, 12 hours if there is any issue. But getting back those funds into the source account is pretty negligible, because what generally happens when they extract money from these set of accounts, it never stays there. Immediately it gets routed to a lot of other accounts as well. So let's say around 1 lakh you have transferred, that 1 lakh never stays into that particular beneficiary account. It gets routed to across, because there are mule accounts connected. So that is where the major issue is, even though, and now recently when you want to go ahead and transfer, there is a rule which has been implemented from NPCI, that the beneficiary name has to come in to whom you are transferring. And
Hmm.
also, there are a lot of notifications they keep giving you, saying you never authorize a payment, or you never authorize in your app when you are supposed to receive the money from someone. You never authorize. If you are authorizing, you're making a payment. That's about it. And that's a clear line of demarcation where you have to be aware of where you're getting scammed. Okay, that's the second part of the story. And so likewise, when I see these trends being happening, there are deep fakes which are being involved, because
Right.
as AI has really matured now,
So I
you
was
might have seen.
about to ask,
Hmm,
right?
hmm,
So as the customer end, like we in BFSI are
hmm,
improving, right? Our
hmm,
overall systems.
hmm.
Then fraudsters also have the same technologies at their disposal, right? So what are some things that you have recently seen and that surprised you overall, right? Uh, that basically are being used by a fraudster overall, right? And then would love to like know how probably uh, even people like us, the retailers and BFSI, who are at the center of this, can actually enhance their systems to basically improve overall things and get lower number of frauds, or like what are some ways to basically reduce it.
Right. So again, two things, Ashutosh, if I would like to answer this question. One is basic education to our clients, or to our customers, as in what sort of application you're downloading. Is it a legitimate one? Are you on a right authorized platform? You're not supposed to click any links which comes in as a part of a loan. Probably, let's say you have availed a loan, you might not even availed one, but there is a notification. Even recently I got that notification saying you have got a loan with HDFC. I know pretty well I don't own any loans, but still, why am I getting it? So that sort of a self-awareness is the key for this, right? That's one part of the story. Second, there are certain set of applications, Ashutosh, which we have implemented, and that's pretty available as well. So one is BioCatch, which really talks about your behavioral metrics. If I have to explain this, let's say you have got your banking app. You generally, when you authorize with your fingerprint or your facial ID, you get into the application. There are certain set of things which you do. Okay, let's say when you log into your application, you generally go to your fixed deposits, or you generally go to your beneficiaries, come back, check your credit score. So over a period of time, there is a certain pattern which gets recorded. Probably our clients might not know this. Unknowingly, there are some patterns which gets recorded, and that will be saved on our servers. Okay, And these are pretty third party applications, Ashutosh, which many leading banks generally use. And that sort of data gets shared with us. So let's say tomorrow you might have lost your mobile. Okay, there is 1 hour of golden window which we generally call for fraudsters. As soon as they can crack your mobile code within an hour, certainly the loss can be humongous. Okay, so what they do is, let's say unfortunately they have gained access to that particular system or that mobile, and they can crack your fingerprints or biometrics as well. Let's say it's a synthetic id which they have created, and when they log in, right, the first thing what they do is they'll try to transfer. Generally, what as a retailer or as a genuine customer, until unless there is a dire need for me to go ahead and transfer, I won't do it. But when it's with fraudster hand, what they immediately do is go and do a immediate transfer. And that's a suspicious activity. That's when it gives a report or an alert for a banking institution, and they lock this profile once for all, saying, we never encountered, you have been working on this app for good amount of time, let's say 1 year of data, you have never exhibited this amount of being pretty quick in order to access the amount what you have in your bank account. That is suspicious. So this biocatch system, it gives an indication that probably this might be under an fraudster hand, so probably lock this out, so immediately your application gets locked. That's one part of it. Second is your threat metrics. That's another application where it will try to gauge from where you're logging in. It might be, let's say, your proxy IDs. There are some notable IP addresses through which you generally log in. Okay, let's say you are totally on a different location, a remote location which is not even related to any of your nearby or a trusted surrounding. And then if you encounter any login from those particular set of locations, then also it will stop you from going in. That's another application. So these are some of the tools what we have at hand as of now in order to curtail any eventual challenges or the loss of capital from a particular client. These are some of the things we have implemented across, and this makes things very easy for the bank as well, because as a investigator or as an agent, you cannot track at this point in time, right? Probably you cannot go to this particular depth. But whereas these applications being run, and they are running 24 bar 7, any sort of a changes, any sort of an alerts, or even if it might be, let's say, a simple thing, even on Google you have, right? If someone is trying to access your Gmail account across locations, you will get a notification, someone is trying to access your Gmail, would you recognize this transaction, would you really approve this transaction? Immediately you say no, you get logged off. You have to change. You also, there is a dark web where you get a notification saying these many your password is really compromised, these many passwords are compromised, please go ahead and change it. So likewise, this is how we are trying to this is how we are trying to make sure that the AI applications are running in the background in order to safeguard our customers' money.
Makes sense. So, like, while we are deploying AI
Mm,
now on the
mm,
customer end as well, right? There are many workflows that are getting changed to AI workflows. There are voice AI, there is avatars, there are multiple other chat and other interfaces that we are deploying, and form factors are actually improving and changing, right? So, what is the biggest challenge around trust, accuracy, and compliance that you see?
these are pretty big pillars, Ashutosh, which we are supposed to comply with. Because let's say one best example is Eva from HDFC, which really handles close to around 5 million transactions day in and day out. So on one end, we have AI at play, where things are getting smoother, quick resolutions, much better info. Detailed info for our clients. But at the same time, if a particular AI is not in position to understand your core problem or those core touch points, which we generally call them as customer touch points, if that's not been attended, it's gonna leave your customer agitated, right? And And so this is always a fierce battle which we generally have to fight with customer as well as the technology, being the intersection of it, because at one end we really cannot undermine AI's capability to what results we are really driving in, and the ROI is pretty evident for us. At the same time, when it comes to those customer touch points, is also something which we have to take care as well. So generally what's been done, there are layer 1, layer 2 set of boundaries which we generally have in. Let's say if a customer tries to pose more than 3 to 4 questions, and if he exceeds that, right, then immediately that particular query or resolution solving capability gets routed to an agent. We don't want to play AI anymore there, because we understand when 3 to 4 questions is where generally anything should get resolved. It might be as simple as what's my account balance. You ask a question, AI gives you an answer with authentication, and that's about it. But let's say if there is any problem or any sort of a fraudulent alert, we have a dedicated options for them where you need not really wait for AI to respond. Rather, the resolution is pretty quick. So these are some of the aspects which we are trying to implement upon. And the third thing is the compliance, right? What generally, okay, probably I'll try to take one UK example for just to give you how things are in UK. If any fraudulent transactions really happens from a particular client, he or she have not authorized it, unauthorized one, then it is bank's liability to honor that commitment. It is no more that particular retailer or a end consumer. So in that case, they are pretty safe there. Okay. The same case goes with HKMA as well, Hong Kong Monetary Authority as well. They try to safeguard their consumers to the best, but whereas in India we don't have that option. Only thing what you can do is you have to report as soon as possible. How far it gets tracked, you have to raise an FIR as well by visiting to the cyber police or a cyber crime branch, and then try to have a follow up. But our central bank never takes any authority that you will be safeguarded. So that's one of the bigger drawback what I generally see. Even though we have tools available for us to raise this, act upon as soon as possible, but how far we are going to get this back into our source is something which is pretty questionable. So coming back to those 3 points, one is the trust, scale, and compliance. It's always a three triangle which we always try to solve, we being at the center of it, Ashutosh.
Makes sense, makes sense. And as we discussed, right, the form factors are changing. The like we are seeing that voice and conventional interfaces are going to evolve, right, in 3 to 4 years. So what do you think? Like, how would it look like after 2 to 3 years, and uh, how the systems will be reliable for doing the same type of? Because I've read somewhere, I think the fraud, or the basically the fraud amount is in crores, right? I think lakh crores of sort, right? So it's a huge loss that people actually are having due
Yes.
to frauds, right, due to scams. So, and now at they, like, they have deep fakes, they have voice cloning, they have
Yeah.
multiple other aspect in AI that they are able to do. So how do you think, like, uh, will the interfaces actually able to handle it?
Right, pretty intense. Now one is when it comes to KYC, right? Let's say a basic KYC. Generally, as of now, it's all pretty done online, right? When you want to really open an account, or it might be you have applied for any credit card, there is a KYC onboarding which generally happens. You get a link, you hop on to that link, and there is a virtual agent which is right in front of you. um, One thing what I have seen is, initially even these were morphed by creating a synthetic identity, by creating these deepfake videos, by trying to capture the details from that particular individual, where as if he or she has applied for these credit cards. Now what is happening? It is with live and voice enabled. It means, let's say, you what generally happens recently, I've seen this. when you generally open an account or you go in for a credit card, you have to hold your personal identity card with you, and they generally ask you to move around. Okay, probably your left, your right, blink your eyes, ask few certain impromptu questions which are more personal in nature. Just they want to make sure that the answer is not AI driven. It is exactly, if I have to put it in one word, it is exactly like AI versus AI. Because you have, because sometimes what happens, even these banking institutions are being morphed, where you feel that I'm trying to apply for a genuine card from a genuine institution, but ideally it's not, right? So it is always AI versus AI. So, and we have now agents being deployed as well, which
Right.
generally create a lot of ripples in the market. So these are some of the aspects which we generally have on, as in you have the OTPs followed by live authentication, two-way SMS. These all can be morphed. Okay, as soon as your sim get hijacked, everything is compromised, even your OTPs as well. So this always combines me with three things. One is your OTPs followed by your live authentication, and also some impromptu questions, so that only give us an authentication or a sort of a trust that yes, we are onboarding a genuine customer, and we are delivering our services to a genuine customer only. So this is the thing what I generally see. Sorry, there
No,
was one more
but there
question.
is
Hmm,
one more thing, right?
hmm,
Now that we have voice AI and it can do things in scale, right? It can call like huge number of people at the same time, right? And this technology is
hmm,
also with the fraudsters,
hmm,
right? Let's say they start calling thousands or lakhs of people, millions of people, and there is scale of economies, right? Because let's say if I call 1 lakh people, at least 1 or 2% people will get stuck with me, right? Or will be successful. I will be able to make them, let's say, transact on a fake app or a fake link or somewhere, right? So the scale of AI is actually changing, right? And there's no human dependencies now, so you can actually deploy fraud with these type of technologies. So I understand that what you are saying is that from the bankers end, right? Meaning we from BFSI are able to understand when it's a fraud or it's not, right? We are using AI models, workflows, applications, all of that. But as the scale is also increasing, the AI maturity is increasing. How do you think like these nitty gritties will also be followed, right? Meaning on the BFSI end, because not every bank is ready. So your bank is much mature than, let's say, an SFB, right, in
got
India,
it. Yeah,
an NBFC, or
NBFC.
let's say even a small fintech for that matter. So those are the people who are not actually ready for these type of, let's say, scam attacks of sort, right? So where all we can be sure that we are scaling, but we are taking care of the nuances, right? What do you think? How should AI be handled or workflows be built now?
So what generally happens, Ashutosh, I've seen with other probably a smaller players as well, right? A part of AI gets implemented. Let's say if there is any sort of a message or any sort of a call which any of our customers really receive, that particular link or those customer numbers gets captured, and then there is a AI module which gets attached onto your banking as well, where you can go and check the authenticity of it. That's a pretty small scalable solution what I've seen been implemented across smaller players, because as you said rightly, some of these applications come with pretty good amount of fixed cost, and you have to also dedicate a lot of time and money in order to get them implemented as well. So probably a smaller scale of these AI modules are getting implemented, and probably what we generally call that as a blue ocean strategy, right? where a scaling is pretty normal or probably at a smaller scale, but the impact is pretty high. So any sort of a customer, probably I'll not name those banks, but those particular banks have got this smaller AI module with them where they try to check the genuinity. Let's say you have got a message saying so and so is outstanding, or this is something which you have to complete as a part of ongoing banks exercise. Pick that message, put it in that particular system. Then there are models which gets written or implemented by those banks where it will try to authenticate whether it's a genuine or no. So here we are not really bringing in whole of the AI module as such, rather whole of the AI at scale. Rather, we are trying to bind a certain set of authenticity of what a banks really bring in, and how best you can use it for your clients, because your the scale of operation is also pretty less. Okay, probably the customers what you have might not be running into HNIs. Okay, they are pretty normal customers on whom you're going to transact with. So you need not bring a bigger AI modules, rather have a small AI modules which we can use it as a plugin and use them for authentication. And that's how it's been solved for
Okay.
the smaller banks.
Makes sense.
Apart from that, um, so there are few bank drives what they generally do, where any sort of a session which they really bring in, where you can go through what are do's and generally don'ts. So that sort of a periodic education to your clients really helps them to be self-aware of what is to be done or what cannot be carried out from your end.
No, makes sense. I think you're rightly said that not large models, but there can be small models which can be deployed for these type of handling of sort, right? And there are multiple players as well out there who might be able to help with these
Yes.
type of frauds. And as AI is becoming day to day now, right? So there are so is scams and frauds, right? So I think, yeah, thank you so much for that lens, Manoj. Really enjoyed the conversation and understood how actually a banker thinks about these frauds. How can we remove them from the system? How can we build trust overall, right? Any pointer that you would like to say to the audience from the perspective of how they can be safe with overall implementing AI, right? And how our end users can play safe from the scam and fraud perspective.
Right, Ashutosh. One thing what I generally always say is AI is a beast. Okay, if you do not know to tame it well, it's gonna destroy you. So that's where we call them as a guardrails, right? An AI without a guardrail gonna drive you crazy. So that's on the technology front. But on the users front, one is the self awareness. Why are we transacting? What are we transacting? And what is the authenticity of it? Why are we getting into this sort of a transaction? So that self awareness is the key for any individual to take care of, because you have your banking institutions, you have your central bank, you have applications which keep running at the back of it. But somewhere, if you are not aware of what you're doing or your actions, um, that really puts a lot of pressure on whole of our financial system. So one is the self awareness. Second, how best is your conversation with AI? What sort of information you can share, and what sort of information which you cannot share with AI? That's sort of another pointer which I generally bat for. And finally, the third thing is, try to be a good observant, because there is no compulsion that you have to succumb to certain laws and then learn a lesson. No, try to keep observing, because there are a lot of others who have succumbed to various other pointers or losses based on different scenarios. Observe and learn, because learning is one thing which never ends. And I guess these are the three pointers which I would like to part my ways with in order to be self aware and yes, own your responsibility is what I generally say about.
No, thank you so much, Manoj. It was a very learning sort of a session, right? And I really enjoyed understanding your lens to that, right? And I think for last, whoever is listening, if they want to reach out to you, how probably they can.
Yeah, I'm good to be on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, so Manoj Kulkarni should be good enough. And other than that, yeah, I can give my mail ID as well, which would be easier if any sort of a follow-up questions, anything if anyone wants to really have a quick
Absolutely.
conversation upon, I'm happy to do that as well.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you. It was really great to have you. Looking forward to meeting you in person as well. And thank you, everyone. This was our RevRack podcast, and we'll be coming up with more such conversations to understand how we are applying AI into BFSI and what are the nuances that we can take care, such as trust, accuracy, compliance, and many other aspect of AI in BFSI. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for having
Thank you.
me.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.